Churches are not usually covered among government news. The steepling function, however, is one function in that environment of a grand estate that structures the sensory reception to make more or less sense while in use. Today, I'll be covering a church with such influence. Both President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were originally slated to abuse the goodwill of the gathering for political influence points. After a delay of over a year, the African Methodist Episcopal Church will be meeting at several conferences taking root in Florida to determine their course in matters of social justice of the present era, reports AP News. The AME Church is reported to be one of the oldest black church institutions with roots in influencing policy and principle. Quote, our church claims to have the issue of justice in its DNA. It'll come up in the sermons. It'll come up in the reports, Senior Bishop Adam J. Richardson Jr. was quoted as saying. Coming up for the church is a sequence of meetings for the discussion of some of the more explicit social justice concerns of our time. The 5-day legislative gathering has been delayed for 1 year by the coronavirus, and so was a planned simultaneous gathering for African representation. Those two events are to be combined in the in-person events happening in Orlando, Florida, with the African representatives appearing by internet interconnectivity. Does that dedication to justice mean that if I can get some sense for how to build strong grassroots pillars of mercenary community, I can convince the AME to become my acolytes? Let me count the benefits. There'd be a sure hand towards those escapists who would otherwise grope desperately to be made conscious of the cravings for real-world stable equivalent favoring a secure life. Those people who would be escaping to speed dating circle clubs would crave fewer infusions and a desperate folly in the communities with high levels of disturbance of the peace. Those friendship circles, cutting their independence into place by doing pro bono works in a fashion at once charitable and internally economics, would add as a role model by exposing people to a world of adjustments who otherwise encounter only a world of unnatural stasis. Those leadership circles entering into business through earned entry into a mutual business society would then circulate an economic stimulus so long as the price for entry was a minimum viable share in the company of their employment and the employment of downlocked people. And now I'm fantasizing. You think about it, because I don't think it's healthy for me to anymore. Since I have a little time left in my 3 minutes, I'd like to tell you that if you enjoyed this micro podcast, I produce a compilation program at the end of each week that I have hosted by Anchor. I hope you'll help me get paid.